In this video, I'm going to show you the most commonly asked exams officer interview questions and help you plan great answers to these. So let's start with a really straightforward, simple question that you need to get right, which is what would you do if you received a report of exam malpractice against a member of staff? And this question is all about reassuring them that you're going to do the right thing. And what the right thing is may change over time. So you want to keep your answer very general to show that you're going to do the right thing and you're aware of what the sort of procedures are. So the first thing you do, and you do this very, very strongly, and you show with your body language that you do take it seriously, you say, I would take this very seriously. And you show that this is a very serious accusation and it has to be dealt with appropriately. The next thing you say is, I would ensure I am familiar with the current guidance. So guidelines, rules, and procedures can change over time. And you have to not say in your answer that you would do what you did 3 years ago. You talk about following the current guidance as it stands now. The next thing you say is, I would follow the exam board's policy. So whatever policy is in place from the exam board or from the regulators, that is what you are going to follow to deal with that appropriately. And then you start rounding off your answer with a general statement that you would report it to the head of centre or the exam board as appropriate. And the as appropriate is very important because different situations may need to be managed differently and the guidance may suggest a range of options. And so you've got to decide what is appropriate in that case. So to really answer this question well, be strong on ensuring that you're saying that you take it very seriously. Talk in broad terms about policies and following those to the letter, and then round it off with submitting the report as appropriate, and you've got a good answer to this question. The next question is, why do you want to be an exams officer? And of course, I can't tell you exactly why you should be an exams officer or why you would want to do this job, but what I can do is give you lots of suggestions about things you might want to use in your interview, and then I would recommend you prepare an answer for this in advance. So if you're asked, why do you want this job or why do you want to be an exams officer, you've got lots and lots and lots of things to say, and if you plan it, it's going to be a lot easier than trying to think it up when you're on the spot. So let's look at things you could mention. If you have any relevant qualifications that you have taken and that could show that you'd be good at the job, now is a good time to mention it. Say that you enjoy working with others, that you enjoy collaboration, and that you're good at working in teams, because as an exams officer, you're going to be working with pretty much everyone in the school. You're going to be working with the heads of department, special educational needs coordinator. You're going to be working with the senior leadership. You're going to be working with pretty much everyone. And so enjoying collaboration is an important part of being an exams officer. That you are performing an essential role. You can say, I want to be in a role that performs something very essential to the functioning of the school and being an important and useful member of staff. That you could just say that you enjoy working with young people. You might not be spending all your time hidden away in an office. You will be interacting with young people quite a lot. You may even be assigned certain duties at break time, and you're going to have to work with young people there, and you're going to maybe have to start the exams, give briefings, give students instructions, show them how to behave in an exam. And that is something that you're going to enjoy doing because you like working with young people. Say that you are passionate about education, that you're applying for this job because you want to work in education. You could say that you're doing meaningful work. The school simply wouldn't function without a good exams officer. That you're someone who is highly organized and you want a job that's going to use your organizational skills. You want an active and busy job. Exams officer can be a very stressful job. You've got a lot of responsibility. You're managing potentially thousands of exam entries and have a lot of admin and very strict deadlines. It's not a job where you're very, very quiet all year and then just busy for a little bit. There is work to do all year. That you want to have a job that involves leadership, that you're actually going to be leading part of the school. The exams function, you're going to be in charge of it. You enjoy working in schools, and if you worked in schools before, talk about your positive experiences. That you've got experience maybe of doing regulated work where you have to follow strict guidelines, and this is something that you're good at doing. Talk about it being a good match for your experience. Talk about your previous roles and how this is a perfect role for you. And then a great phrase that they like to hear, and it's a great phrase to use, is that you see yourself as a safe pair of hands. Because really head teachers and senior leaders want to be able to hand over the administration of exams to an exams officer and be confident that that role is going to be done well. So you can say, I'm a safe pair of hands that can be trusted to lead this part of your provision. And so I would definitely have a planned out answer, talk about as many of these as you can, and be really positive and really enthusiastic and convince them that this is the right role for you. The next question you definitely have to be confident at answering is, what does an exams officer do? And there is actually a lot of things that they do, and it's a misunderstood role in schools. There's a wide range of parts to the role. So they ensure the centre complies with exam regulations. That is probably one of the most important roles that they do, and you're going to say that right at the start. Managing the exam invigilators, you may be involved in recruiting those invigilators, mock exam preparation and the administration, so not just the final exams, the practice ones as well, contingency planning, managing results days, and also the post results. So if students want to appeal any results or have questions about it after the results, you will be part of that. Supporting with access arrangements can be a big part of your role. So students that are entitled to extra time or other sort of adjustments to their exam experience, that could be part of your role. Rooming and timetabling of those exams, actually registering the students and ensuring that that is done accurately and correctly, keeping up to date with all the changing regulations, checking and storing secure materials. Those exams are not to be seen by anyone and have to be held very securely to ensure the security of the exam system. That's a responsibility you take. Creating all of the seating plans. And then a great one to mention at the end, everybody forgets about, is additional duties as required by the principal or head teacher. And heads and leaders really like you saying that, because they often get pushback from staff who say, that's not my job, I'm not doing it, I can't be asked to do that, it's not my job. And it says in their employment contract, additional duties as required by the principal or head teacher. It's usually written in most employment contracts. So just acknowledging that sometimes you'll have to take on some additional roles to support the smooth running of the school. That's a nice thing to add in to your answer. Then another common thing for exams officers to get is what we call an in-tray exercise. So it could be part of the recruitment process where they give you a list of tasks and you've got to prioritize. And really the way that these tasks typically work is there is a certain order in which generally you're going to answer these. And the most important thing is that anything that is child protection related comes first. So anything to do with safeguarding, anything where a child is at risk, any disclosures, anything like that, that immediately goes above everything else. The second thing, if you're prioritizing in an in-tray exercise, is exams obligations, things that are legal obligations that must be done. If they're not done on time, it's going to cause a big disaster. Those are the things that come next. Then you want to look at all the different tasks that they've presented with and order them by deadline. So what is the most urgent? What is the least urgent? Is there anything in this that could be delegated and someone else could support with that to ensure that things are done on time? And then lastly, anything that's longer term or strategic that doesn't have to be done right now, and if it was next week, it wouldn't matter. Those are the ones that go at the bottom and you can immediately push those to one side. So any sort of prioritizing, this is the general order in which you're going to do it. And that is really going to help you succeed at those sort of tasks. So I'd be ready for an in-tray exercise and practice those just in case you're asked to do one. Then how do you deal with safeguarding questions? A lot of schools have a policy that every single interview they must ask a safeguarding question. And I can't tell you what the safeguarding question will be, but I can show you general things that you need to include in an answer when you're asked about safeguarding. So the first thing you say is that you take your safeguarding responsibilities very seriously. That is providing reassurance that you know that this is important. The next thing is you make it clear that you prioritize safeguarding above all else. That is the number one priority above other things to ensure that students are safe in school is so important. The next thing you reassure them of is that you will carefully read and understand the school's safeguarding policy and procedures. So you're going to know what the policies are, know what the procedures are. So if you're faced with a child protection issue or a safeguarding issue, you're going to do the right thing because you know what the policy and procedure is. That safeguarding is to be treated with appropriate confidentiality. That doesn't mean that it's to be kept secret. And if a student tells you something, that you keep it to yourself and hide it. That is the wrong thing to do. That it shouldn't be shared widely, but it has to be shared with the appropriate member of staff. So in most schools, that will be a designated safeguarding lead, who is the person at which all child protection concerns are to be reported. You then emphasize that safeguarding is a shared responsibility. It's not just, this is the responsibility of the safeguarding lead or someone in senior leadership that they deal with absolutely everything. Shared responsibility means that everybody has a part to play, and exams officers are part of the school staff, and they also have a safeguarding responsibility. You then reassure them that at all times I follow the school's safeguarding policy, and that I promptly and accurately record and report all concerns to the appropriate safeguarding lead. So any sort of question, you ought to be very clear that safeguarding is very important, that you promptly report it, and that you follow all of the appropriate procedures, and you will have a reassuring answer to the question. Before we finish, here are some great questions that you could ask at the end of an exams officer job interview. So when they say, do you have any questions for us? Here are some questions you could ask. You could say, can you tell me how the exams officer role fits into your school improvement plan and how I could contribute to this in my role? So you can basically have a conversation about what the leadership is trying to do to improve the school, and you can talk about how you could contribute to that by ensuring, for example, the exams function runs perfectly smoothly. The next thing you could ask is, what CPD opportunities do you offer to your support staff and the school's exams officer specifically? You could ask, what was it that originally attracted you to this particular school, and find out what is good about this school and share in their enthusiasm. You could say, I remain very interested in your exams officer role. Could you tell me the next steps and a timeline for feedback? You probably want to know that anyway. If that's something you want to know, it's a good idea to ask. And also, you make clear that you are very interested in the role. And then finally, to end the interview, reiterate your interest, show that you are really interested in the job, and be clear that you're thanking the panel sincerely for their time in the interview and you look forward to hearing from them. So I hope this was helpful. I wish you the best of luck in your exams officer interview. And finally, thank you very much for watching.